I'm Michael with Omni Media, here to talk with some lovely folks here today about another show they got coming our way to tear our hearts out and send us on adventure. I had the pleasure, one, to sit down with you guys to talk about your new show, as well as getting to watch it beforehand as well. And I just got to say, I going into Vox Machina and then going to this like, oh, are they going to win me over? You know, we still got our crew over here. We're still following them, and you're introducing someone new, and you guys beat me over the head with charm and heart, and I got completely swept up. I
Yay.
loved it, and I am so excited for everybody else to see this as well. But I wanted to start this off with you guys just to say you're celebrating 10 years of your whole spiel. And on that same year, you have not one, but two animated shows about to release now for everybody to watch. Going into this, how did that milestone impact or influence your approach to bringing this campaign to life?
Oh man, I I think like the anniversary snuck up on us in a way. You know, this animated series has been in development for a while, so I don't think it was intentional that we were like we have to hit the 10-year anniversary. It just happened to dovetail beautifully. Um, from my standpoint, unless Sam is far more of a mastermind than I anticipated.
This was not. There was no long game on this.
I think it's arguable to say that most people look forward to the Mighty Nine campaign. It was arguably the most popular. It landed during COVID. Our audience size was the biggest. It was definitely different from what we did during Vox Machina, but knowing that we were going after 44-minute episodes, we were upgrading and evolving from a 22-minute format. We just took a lot of bigger swings. And I think that's sort of a characteristic of ours across 10 years is that we're just constantly trying to level up what we're able to do, whether it's going from the live stream and can these things be a comic book? Can it be an animated series? Can we go on live shows around the world? Can we bring these stories to more people? Can we make a TTRPG product that they can then make their own stories at their own table with their friends? It's just been one of the stairs along the way that we've been trying to climb and not fall on our faces while we do it.
It took so long to make too. I mean, we played this campaign 5 years ago, 6 years ago. When did we start Mighty Nine? 2019?
7 years ago.
Oh my god. So yeah, things are both slow and fast. But it's so exciting that we get to finally share this with the world in just a couple weeks.
Specifically because you guys are here, I wanted to ask about this too, because obviously, you know, Vox Machina is still an active progression as far as that story goes. And having watched all of this for Mighty Nine, one of the things I was anticipating, because I didn't expect the last thing I expected was that these were going to go run concurrently. So I was curious about when you guys were mapping this out, what were the challenges or the benefits of having both of these projects running side by side to that finish line?
With this and Legend of Vox Machina, or this in
right, especially considering Mighty Nine takes place chronologically ahead of it.
Yeah. I mean, they are in the same world, and it's definitely there's some relationship with both stories. But I feel like the two shows are very different. They're presented in different ways. The characters are much different in Mighty Nine. They're a little bit darker, a little bit more traumatized, and I hope the same people will watch both. But I also think that different audiences will gravitate towards Mighty Nine than Vox Machina. Vox Machina is action comedy, and Mighty Nine is action drama, and it's okay to like both. It's okay to like just one, but it's different itches that are being scratched for sure.
Yeah, I think as far as any challenges that could have been there, I mean, time management's always the battle we're all fighting. But I think also sometimes going into the booth and everyone's going, hey, what character am I today? That scenario where we're, doing recording on both series simultaneously while also playing campaigns in our stream show. There can be a little bit of too many voices in the head syndrome sometimes. So there's a little bit of dialing in, I think, at the top of each recording session. But thankfully, no major challenges. If anything, the productions of each kind of help each other out in a way. Thinking and plotting out one helps us think about how we're plotting out the other, informing each other based on just mood and theme of what makes them unique, and any opportunities to even throw, Easter eggs or little references here and there. That's really fun too. Yeah, just fighting for schedule is ever the perpetual challenge, I think.
Yeah, because I think like from my standpoint going into it, I was like, okay, well, God, hope they're not going to spoil Vox Machina, right? There's no way they could. But like, even going back into that, like even in the more recent seasons of Vox, you could see where or like now I could see where certain things were already being seeded for the Mighty Nine, as certain things popped up in there quite beautifully.
Little tiny bits, little things. Once we knew that we had that opportunity. Well, it's interesting too, because it is a consistent world and there is that time period between, we have the opportunity to take references that were in the original campaigns and flesh them out more meaningfully in these series. And it's a beautiful bit of hindsight now that we are returning to these stories after they've been completed and fleshed out, and other parts of the world and history have been fleshed out. Because now we get to just pepper in a couple of little fun additional flavors.
Yeah, I've caught a couple of things sprinkled in throughout so far. I was like, ooh, I like that note. I caught that. I see what you're doing in there. Despite being set in the same world and having a fairly similar visual aesthetic, it definitely stands out on its own, from the music to the locales to the tone, and the magic system itself is also, everything feels so distinctive. So I was just going to ask as well, is like, what were your goals when you were crafting the story or translating the story, or just how you approached moving from your characters or the setting and frame of campaign 1 to 2 when building out your characters for this?
Who's going to take it?
Yeah.
Who's going to take it? Go, Taliesin, go.
Am I going to take it?
Yeah.
This is a big one. I mean, the real world and Exandria they're big places, and there's a lot of stories to tell. And we just came from this very traditional fantasy setting. We started it's a group of adventurers in a pub, and we're rolling our way through that story, and we have a champion of a god, 2 leaders of nations. Those are very big characters kind of floating above the fray of the world, and then we get to go to this other story of people who are really below the fray, deeply, deeply below the fray, and they are getting tossed around like a very, very tiny ship in the storm. And they don't know each other. They don't really all meet for a while. We have so much time to get a sense of them and find out about what life is like at the bottom of Exandria, with people who are not heroes. I mean, honestly, they're almost not villains at this point by default. They definitely have a lot of rough stuff happening, and if they had not found each other, God only knows. And it's such a fun story from that space that we suddenly find ourselves in this very relatable group of characters who are very flawed, and not flawed like champions. They're flawed like people.
Damn, crushed it, man.
Yeah, I think that's what draws you in, like you said, because the campaign 1 is very kind of like following a lot of the typical frameworks for a fantasy narrative, and like you said, they're kind of like they rise to like legendary status so much. I mean, it's in the title of the show, but then you come down and you have one guy who can't keep his head out of literal poo throughout most of the story, and it's just like, I don't know, it just it it these characters are so broken in their own beautiful ways that one thing I really latched onto was that everybody kind of felt like they were lost on an island of their own making until they found those connections. And it's that difficulty of building the bridges and watching that happen is just because that's just life sometimes. And I just it's just so beautifully crafted and pulling you in. And I think like this show goes straight for the heart, which is one thing that I really appreciated out of it. And the scope and the scale is larger than life, like with all the different factions and all that. But at the end of the day, it's just these people who are adrift trying to find a place in the world, and then happen to find this family. And like family, they don't always agree or focus on the same things. And I think it translates. The most challenging thing I came out of this with, or like I thought going into it, was going to be like, okay, well, Vox is still ongoing. It's like, am I cheating on Vox now with a new group of characters? Because this is going, it's not like we're moving on and leaving them behind. They're still here, but I'm like, oh God, is this going to be difficult? And I got swept up in these broken, tragic, flawed characters. And they just so easily pulled me into their struggles, their personalities, their plights. And they very much so like have a voice of their own. And like you said too, it's very, very tonally, musically, visually different outside of the the same character designs, the same overall shared aesthetic. It just feels like a completely different show in the same world, and I just got so taken with it. And for each of you, since you all have a character in here, one more staple than just random voices, so to speak. But for each of your characters, what's an aspect of them you hope resonates most with the audience coming into it?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to what you were saying and what Taliesin just touched on, I hope, especially in today, in the year of our Lord 2025, hopefully people can take away that you can have an impact on change. You can create meaningful change no matter your station. In a lot of ways, that is very much the overall lesson of Mighty Nein. You know, we've always said the Mighty Nein are the heroes that you will never know the name of. And I think that that's true for most people. That's true for the people who pick up extra time doing charity work in their local communities. That's true for the teachers who are working overtime to have extra care of their students. That's true for first responders. You know, there are a lot of people who you might not hear about because good things don't create good clickable headlines. But there is little things that you can do on your day-to-day to hopefully make the world a little bit better, than you found it.
I guess for me, Nott just doesn't, without spoiling too much, she certainly doesn't feel comfortable in her own skin. And she doesn't like how people look at her and treat her in the world. And I feel like that's something that everybody deals with at some point in their life, just not liking their body and not liking themselves. And I think the show and her story just shows you that you don't need to be accepted and beloved by everybody, as long as you have a few key people in your life that accept you for who you are and you love those people. That sometimes is enough to give you the confidence to go on every day. And I hope that resonates with people.
Yeah, I think another thing that's super relatable is you can always start over. There's always a fresh start. You are not defined by your past. You can decide whoever you want to be from one day to the next. I think a lot of these characters are trying to pick up the pieces or trying to put a new foot forward and trying to define who they are or what they want to see in the world. And sometimes it means faking it till you make it, putting on a brave face, doing whatever you can to try and confront the things that are in front of you. And even against insurmountable odds, just stand tall and weather it. I love an old passage that it says, do not fear the storm. It teaches you how to sail. And I think that's just a big part of being any adventurer, whether at a table or in real life.
For Yasha, what I hope comes across, and I know we see these small but impactful moments, getting a glimpse of who she is, introducing her to the audience, and she comes across as this very imposing character, the orphan maker. She's a killing machine. But I also hope what comes across is that we're able to see that she's not entirely in control, and to see, at least in the end, her vulnerability of the tenderness and the vulnerability of Yasha, which is there, which the audience won't see. If they haven't seen the campaign and you just see these little glimpses of her, you don't know that until the end. So again, that's a spoiler, but yeah, I'm excited for that change to happen for the audience.
One of the things that I love about Jester is hopefully she'll show, my fellow people pleasers out there that it's okay to sometimes let a little bit of the vulnerability show through. And maybe the only way to grow is to take off that mask and let other people see what's underneath.
Hoping that the audience holds enough space for a very complicated character. Essek's journey is not an ethical one, I would say, but much of that circumstance is forged by things beyond his control, and his journey is with the intent of regaining control of his circumstances. And I think a lot of that resonates with other characters in the story as well. So at the very least, he's a main character. I wouldn't consider him a protagonist necessarily. So hold space for what those mysteries might provide as we progress together.
Thank you guys for your time, and thank you guys for everything you bring into this world. You guys create, and that energy, and keep on for another 10, 20, 50 years. I don't know, whatever dark magics we have to dive into to make that happen, but we'll discover it. Give us another 10 years.
Oh, yeah, we better, Michael. Come on.
We've already, it has been recorded.
Yes.
They will be coming.
Hell yes.
And thank you, Michael, for all your reaction videos. They're so great.
There's going to be more.
Big fan.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Fans for a while, man, but you know that.
Well, you got 8 more coming in the near future.
Great.
Yay.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Take care. Hello, I'm Michael with Omni Media. How are you today, Tasha?
I'm well. How are you?
Good so far. Really looking forward to this. Absolutely loved the show. This being a little bit different of a format than Vox Machina, I was just kind of curious, show running this, what was your philosophy going into this to make sure it had its own voice and didn't feel too homogenous it's a shared world, but it kind of had its own voice going through it?
Yeah, I think those early conversations we had were definitely, we wanted to make it feel darker than the Vox Machina, and in some ways more mature in terms of the storytelling. And that's really a gift that the cast gave us with the characters that they created, and the depth of character and backstory, and just how much trauma all of it brought to the screen. So it just sort of begged to have a very different, grittier, kind of more cinematic feel. So that was definitely the thinking going in from the start.
I definitely think that came across for sure, especially with Vox kind of being very adventure centric and whatnot. This almost at times felt like an HBO show to me at times, and it was a lot enjoyable in that way. The characters themselves, like you said, they're all very. I don't even know if I would say dark is the right word for me when I was watching it. It's just like they're so grounded.
Yeah.
Everything felt so very real, and it was so much. They were the driving force of the narrative, which I really enjoyed. With the staggered connection and build up of the characters, how much was that brought over from the campaign versus kind of like a way to slowly let these characters build? Was it a mix of both, or something you guys decided to do uniquely for the show?
I think as soon as we started talking about characters and what is the first season even going to look like for the show, it became quickly clear that some of that session zero stuff, or even before, needed to be told in these early episodes. And that's of course a risk, because you know, as fans, or even as fans of television, we expect the ensemble group we're going to be with to be there and be an ensemble in episode one. And we wanted to say, how about we break that trope? Especially it's a D&D trope, right? You meet in a tub and you all go on an adventure. Because we wanted to really, I wanted to tell those stories of who they were before they ever became the Mighty Nine. Because it became quickly clear that these characters who completely distrust everybody they are with would never just meet strangers and go on an adventure. So if they're not going to do that, let's talk about why, and let's show why, and build to there. So yeah, those were in very early conversations of starting it that way, and hopefully it works out.
No, I thought it worked very nicely when I was watching it. I liked that kind of build up because it's like the assembly of the team. It also allows you to get to know each of the characters organically in a way where you're not trying to find a place. Okay, where can we retread to go back and figure out who this person was and whatnot, which I do enjoy. Not to like get too down on that, but I love the approach here, because it is kind of like building a puzzle. And then once the puzzle's built, it was a lot of fun to see that image and that culmination. As far as like
too, though, Michael, is that once they all meet and join together as a group, you have the problem of potentially losing people in this ensemble. Because we got to start with them, you feel like you really know who they are as individuals before they ever become a group.
Exactly.
Really helpful. Yeah.
Without going into too many spoilers, or if you might need to, if I guess, with the way that this ends, how much was the decision to end kind of in the middle of the mission? I mean, I personally love when I need to know exactly what happens in the next episode. I need to next, just as a lover of stories. And so, yeah, hopefully at the end of this season, you have answered some of your burning questions, but have a ton more. That is the hope. Well, you definitely nailed that, because whenever that went to credits, I was vehemently like, where is the next episode? What is this?
Angry about it. Yeah.
Yes. It was so good. And I'm really excited to see where we go from here. I'm somebody who's come into this world through this versus the campaign. So a lot of this is I'm just going in pretty blind.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's been a treat.
This show is absolutely for you too. It's actually kind of my greatest sort of joy, where I feel like sort of the most gratitude is when I hear people who have never even like heard of Critical Role or watched a minute of Critical Role can really sit down and enjoy Vox Machina or really enjoy the Mighty Nine. So thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. This world was kind of my gateway into that penetrating that kind of that multi-year barrier through Vox and now this. And I was like, I've always been really itching to meet these other groups.
Yeah.
And
secretly, it's my way of like getting my friends to watch Critical Role, because they wouldn't watch 4 hours a night. Yeah, exactly.
We'll get you somehow.
Exactly.
That's kind of all I've got.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. And we can't wait to hear when we're going to be getting season 2.
This group is wild.
We are the Mighty Nine.